Most people would never stop for a penny. They fall into couch cushions, disappear into cup holders, get tossed into jars, and forgotten for years without a second thought. And yet, every once in a while, a single cent carries a story far larger than its size should allow. Not because it was made from gold, not because it was ancient, but because hidden inside its design is the story of one of the most important figures in American history. A story about struggle before greatness, failure before leadership, and the uncomfortable years that shaped a future president long before the world knew his name. Because history often remembers famous people at their peak, but the most revealing moments usually happen before success arrives. And in 2009, the United States Mint decided to place one of those forgotten moments directly onto a coin millions of people would hold in their hands. A coin that quietly transformed everyday pocket change into historical storytelling. Stay with this journey, because what begins as a simple penny slowly becomes something much deeper. A portrait not just of Abraham Lincoln, but of the difficult years that shaped him into the person history remembers today. Welcome to Royal Coin Value USA, where forgotten history and rare treasures come back to life. To understand this coin, you first need to understand why 2009 mattered so much. That year marked the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, 2 centuries since one of America's most influential presidents entered the world in a small Kentucky log cabin. And instead of issuing only one commemorative coin, the United States Mint did something unusual. They created an entire 4-coin series. Each reverse design represented a different chapter of Lincoln's life: birth and early childhood, formative years, professional life, and presidency. Together, these 4 designs created a miniature documentary told through pennies. And among those 4 designs, one stands out for its emotional realism and quiet symbolism: the Formative Years Design, the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Penny from the Denver Mint. Now, here's what makes this coin fascinating. Most coins celebrate achievement, victory, power, success, but this design focuses on something completely different: preparation, growth, becoming. It captures Abraham Lincoln not as president, but as a young man still searching for identity and direction, and that makes it deeply human. Now imagine America during Lincoln's youth. The frontier was harsh, life was unstable, opportunities were limited, families moved constantly in search of survival, education was inconsistent and often difficult to access. Lincoln himself came from humble beginnings, working physical labor jobs from an early age. There was no clear path waiting for him, no guarantee of influence or leadership, only effort, curiosity, and persistence. And somehow, those difficult years became the foundation for one of the most studied lives in American history. Now let's slowly bring the coin into focus. On the obverse side, the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln remains. This design, originally introduced in 1909 to commemorate Lincoln's 100th birthday, had already become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. Created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, the portrait carries a calm seriousness. Lincoln appears thoughtful rather than triumphant, steady rather than dramatic. And that emotional restraint fits perfectly with the Bicentennial series, because these coins were not trying to create spectacle, they were trying to create narrative. Around Lincoln's portrait are the familiar inscriptions, "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date 2009. But there is another small detail that matters enormously: the D Mint mark. That single letter tells collectors the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, and in numismatics, tiny details like this often carry major importance. Now turn the coin over in your mind. This is where the real story unfolds. The reverse design shows a young Abraham Lincoln sitting on a log, taking a break from splitting rails while reading a book. Think about that image for a moment. Physical labor in one hand, education in the other, survival and self-improvement existing at the same time. The symbolism here is powerful because it reflects the reality of Lincoln's youth. He was not raised in privilege. He educated himself largely through independent reading while working physically demanding jobs. And that struggle became central to the American image of Lincoln over time. A self-made figure shaped by discipline and intellectual curiosity. The log itself matters symbolically. It connects directly to the rail splitter identity, often associated with Lincoln during political campaigns and historical storytelling. But the book changes everything. Without the book, the image would simply represent labor. With the book, it represents transformation, a young man reaching beyond his circumstances. And that emotional layer is what makes this reverse design so compelling. Now, let's talk about the artistic structure itself. himself. The composition feels balanced and personal. Lincoln is not standing heroically, he is sitting quietly, reading, thinking. The scene feels intimate rather than grand, and that choice creates emotional connection, because viewers are not looking at a distant monument, they are looking at a young person still becoming who he will one day be. That subtle storytelling is rare in circulating coinage. Now let's move into minting details. The 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Pennies were produced in enormous quantities across multiple mints, including Philadelphia and Denver. But the Denver issue carries its own collector identity because of mint-specific production and preservation differences. These coins were struck using modern zinc core copper-plated composition, unlike older bronze Lincoln cents from earlier decades. That means they belong to the modern era of US cent production. However, despite being modern coins, the Bicentennial series immediately attracted public attention because of the special reverse designs. People noticed them, saved them, separated them from ordinary circulation cents, and that behavior changed how many examples survived. Now here's where things become interesting. Unlike many older coins that became collectible decades after release, the 2009 bicentennial cents were recognized as special almost immediately. That means a significant number were preserved early, but preservation quality still varies dramatically. Some entered circulation heavily, others remained untouched in rolls, sets, or personal collections, and this creates an important divide within the collector market. Now let's talk about rarity. The 2009 Formative Years Penny is not traditionally rare in terms of mintage numbers. Millions were produced. But rarity in modern coin collecting often depends more on condition and specific varieties than raw production totals. Finding heavily circulated examples is easy. Finding sharply struck high-grade coins with strong surfaces and minimal imperfections becomes much more challenging, especially because modern copper-plated zinc cents are highly vulnerable to contact marks and surface damage. Even tiny abrasions can dramatically affect appearance under magnification, and collectors notice those details immediately. Now we move into one of the most curiosity-driven parts of the series. Errors and varieties. The 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial series became especially famous because collectors began searching intensely for minting anomalies shortly after release. Some examples showed double die characteristics, others displayed die chips, strike-through errors, or plating irregularities. But one category generated particularly strong collector attention: extra finger varieties. Certain Formative Years pennies appeared to show what looked like an additional finger on Lincoln's hand due to die damage or raised metal anomalies. These unusual appearances created excitement because they changed how the image looked visually. Collectors examined coins closely under magnification, searching for subtle differences invisible to casual observers. And this is where modern numismatics becomes fascinating, because even a tiny variation on a common coin can create an entirely different level of interest. Now let's move into grading. Modern coins are often deceptively difficult to grade at the highest levels. Why? Because collectors expect near perfection. A single distracting mark can separate an average uncirculated coin from a premium grade specimen. For the 2009 Formative Years penny, grading focuses heavily on luster, strike sharpness, surface cleanliness, and eye appeal. Strong red color is especially important. Collectors often categorize Lincoln cents based on color preservation. Red examples retain original mint brightness. Red-brown examples show partial toning. Brown examples display more advanced color change over time. And because copper reacts strongly with environment and handling, maintaining original red surfaces becomes increasingly difficult as years pass. That makes top condition examples far more desirable among serious collectors. Now let's step back and look at collector market insight. The 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial series occupies a unique position in modern US coinage. It combines historical storytelling with widespread accessibility. Almost anyone could find one in circulation during release. That created emotional connection. People remembered discovering them unexpectedly in pocket change. And those personal discovery moments matter deeply in coin collecting culture. The Formative Years design especially resonates with collectors because it feels personal and relatable. It does not focus on Lincoln at the height of power, it focuses on effort before achievement. That humanizes the historical figure in a way many commemorative coins fail to accomplish. Collectors approach this coin from different angles. Some build complete bicentennial penny sets, others focus specifically on Denver issues, some pursue certified high-grade examples. and many search for interesting varieties and mint anomalies. This layered collecting interest keeps the series active within modern numismatics. Now let's explore the educational value, because this coin teaches something far beyond coin collecting itself. It teaches that greatness is rarely immediate. The image of young Lincoln reading while performing physical labor reflects one of the most enduring ideas in American historical identity: self-education, persistence, growth through difficulty. Whether people fully agree with the mythology surrounding Lincoln or not, the symbolism remains powerful. The coin encourages viewers to think about process instead of outcome, about the years before recognition arrives, and that message reaches people differently than traditional heroic imagery. This coin also teaches how currency can become storytelling. Most circulating coins repeat static designs for decades, but the 2009 Bicentennial series transformed ordinary cents into chronological narrative pieces. Each reverse became a chapter, and together they created one of the most educational circulating coin programs in modern US history. Now imagine someone discovering this penny for the first time in 2009. Perhaps they noticed the unusual reverse immediately. Perhaps they kept it because it looked different from ordinary Lincoln cents. Perhaps they showed it to family members or placed it aside in a collection jar. At that moment, the coin was already doing exactly what it was designed to do, creating curiosity about history, turning everyday money into conversation. And that is powerful because coins travel through society in ways museums cannot. They reach millions of people directly, quietly, without announcement. Now, as we approach the end of this journey, the deeper meaning of the 2009 Formative Years penny becomes clearer. It is not simply a commemorative cent, it is a story about becoming, a reminder that historical figures were once uncertain young people trying to build their futures one day at a time. And perhaps that is why this design resonates so strongly, because everyone understands struggle before success. Everyone understands working while trying to improve themselves. Everyone understands uncertainty, and hidden inside this small penny is that universal human experience. The coin reminds us that greatness often begins invisibly, in quiet effort. In difficult years, no one celebrates at the time, and that emotional realism gives this penny unusual depth for modern circulation coinage. It transforms Abraham Lincoln from distant historical icon into something more relatable. A young man reading by necessity, learning through persistence, trying to rise beyond circumstance. And through that image, the coin quietly tells a much larger American story, not just about Lincoln, but about aspiration itself. So the next time you see a 2009 Bicentennial penny, pause before dismissing it as ordinary pocket change, because hidden inside that small copper-colored coin is one of the most human portraits ever placed on modern American currency. A reminder that history is not built only by victories. Sometimes it is built during the years nobody notices yet. Thanks for watching this deep dive with Royal Coin Value USA. Subscribe to Royal Coin Value USA for more incredible stories about rare and antique coins.